Hello again. I'm Master Sergeant Chris Scarborough, the Fort Bragg Master Trainer for the Army Professional Ethic. It's that time of year again, and as we enter the third quarter of the fiscal year, I'd like to discuss military expertise with you and its importance for Army professionals. All professions, including the U.S. Army, exist to provide for society a specific service that society cannot provide for itself. The Army creates its own expert knowledge to provide the nation with military expertise, the design, generation, support, and ethical application of land power, and thus earns the trust of the American people. I hope your group can have an open discussion after and/or during this presentation where you can express ideas and learn from one another while you learn about our Army profession and doctrine. These are the goals for our discussion today: to earn and sustain trust within the Army profession and with the American people. Army professionals must consistently demonstrate competence, character, and commitment. Knowledge and practice describe competence in professionals and is directly related to our profession's military expertise. Our professional responsibility is to develop our expert knowledge and skills through lifelong learning. We are stewards of the Army profession. We must certify Army professionals in competence, character, and commitment to remain effective. Let's do a quick review of what we have already learned. Our Army profession is healthy when all 5 essential characteristics are present in our culture and organizations and demonstrated by our professionals. These are military expertise, honorable service, esprit de corps, stewardship of the profession, and trust. Military expertise is one of the essential characteristics and also supports the other 4 essential characteristics. For example, the Army has developed knowledge of military technical and moral ethical aspects of practicing its profession. Professionals, in their pursuit of honorable service, benefit from this moral ethical collective expertise. Their competence and ethical behavior strengthens the trust between the Army and the nation. The Army professionals, guided by common expert knowledge, develop a common purpose, and that shared purpose helps to increase esprit de corps within the Army units and organizations. Army professionals are experts, certified to fulfill their responsibilities and perform assigned duties with discipline and to standards. What is military expertise? What areas of knowledge and skills are required by the Army profession? What do you think about the statement on the slide? Our military expertise as a profession is the design, generation, support, and ethical application of land power. This is our contribution to the defense of our nation. Professionals continuously develop expertise and use that expertise only in the best interest of the society served. This video introduces military expertise in the professional context.
One of the aspects of being a profession is our application of expert knowledge. And the Army's expert knowledge is the application of land power.
And so military expertise is that we can do that better than anybody else in the world. And you have to be an expert in a lot of things.
Most people think of military expertise and it's the shoot, move, and communicate part of our military expertise. It's only 1/4 of what's required of us as a military profession, an Army profession.
So you have to be an expert in military technical aspects. You have to be an expert in political and cultural issues. We have to be experts in moral, ethical decision making. And then most importantly, we have to be experts in human development, what it takes to train and develop professionals over time.
Well, military expertise to me means it's kind of more MOS, job related, that you're in the military. So I guess to me, as being 11 Bravo Infantry, I think of, what do I know and how well do I know my actual job? And I think it's essential to be an expert on, your job, because that's how the military works.
Expertise holds a significant amount of importance, because if A lot of folks like to consider themselves experts, subject matter expert, this type of expert, that type of expert. But when you think about it, for me to be an expert in my role, it takes practice every day, and I need to be willing to learn and grow, and then also seek opportunities in self-development and professional growth to ensure that I'm meeting the intent of what it is we're trying to do as an organization.
It's important to continue to develop in my expertise because, like anything, if you don't professionally develop yourself and read the newest publications and the newest doctrine, then you lose that expertise. You lose your ability to be successful in your job.
I think the Army's expertise, if you had to pick one thing, would be leadership and leading organizations. The numbers of people and the amount of equipment that we move, that we organize, that we get to do one thing in a concerted fashion is beyond what any other organization can do.
The single most critical field of knowledge, expert knowledge for the Army, is how do you develop Army leaders? Because nothing that I've discussed so far in terms of expert knowledge will be applied at all unless it is applied through leadership by human leaders. And that's the critical field of knowledge. And in essence, developing is not just developing leaders, it's developing all soldiers through the process and all civilians to become leaders within their own place in the Army.
To get to the level of warfighter that we are at, you know, it requires years of training. I mean, I cannot expect a private, you know, straight out of basic training, straight out of, you know, infantry training to be able to lead a patrol, to be able to write an op order. It requires a level of training that's, you know, I would say on par with, you know, any other profession.
We may be a very military technically capable force, but if we're not ethically educated and developed, we will use that force for the wrong purposes. We have to generate our own understanding of what it means to fight ethically, to follow principles of ethical conduct such as military necessity, proportionality, and discrimination, all elements of our ethic.
How we develop an individual from the time we recruit them until the time that we allow that person to exit the profession or he retires from the profession is that we are developing them in the aspects of how the Army does business.
And that leads to more trust. The more expertise you build, the better you are at your job, the more people will trust you. And so that's the importance of expertise.
What do you think about the statement on the slide? Education, training, and experience in the practice of our Army profession enables us to effectively and ethically defend the nation. ADRP 1 describes 3 critical tasks for developing its expert knowledge: the continuous development of expert knowledge and expertise, applying Army expertise under mission command, certifying the expertise of the Army professionals and units. Continuously developing expert knowledge and skills is the first of the 3 critical tasks for the profession. Army professionals must continuously develop expertise in each of these 4 fields through deliberate, consistent, and repetitious training. The military technical field encompasses the doctrine of how the Army applies its land power. The moral ethical field describes how the Army applies land power according to law and the expectations of our citizens. The political cultural field informs how Army professionals and organizations operate effectively, cross-culturally, outside the Army's institutional boundaries in cooperation with other agencies in the unified action partner environment and in all civil-military relations. The knowledge of leader human development is the most important field of knowledge for the Army, informing how the profession inspires American citizens to a calling of service, develops their talents and character, and certifies them to be Army professionals. How is this expert knowledge necessary for Army professionals to accomplish every assigned mission effectively and ethically? How do Army professionals apply expert knowledge in their everyday decision-making? What is your reaction to the statement on this slide? How is military expertise important when giving subordinates maximum initiative? Why is the expert knowledge of leader human development important when operating under mission command? Applying military expertise under mission command is the second critical task for developing military expertise. Mission command is impossible without trust and military expertise. It requires subordinate leaders to perform with expertise and requires senior leaders to trust these experts to accomplish the mission, meeting the commander's intent. What is certification in the Army? What are some examples of how the Army certifies its members? How do you certify competence? How does military expertise relate to certification? How do you assess or certify character and commitment? Certifying expertise of Army professionals and organizations is the third critical task for developing military expertise. Certification is verification and validation of an Army professional's competence, character, and commitment to fulfill responsibilities and perform assigned duties with discipline and to standards. Through certification, the Army ensures the expertise of its individuals and units. Serving in the Army profession is an honor and a privilege. Army professionals are certified in competence, character, and commitment. These criteria are essential to sustain the trust of both the American people and within the Army profession. Army professionals must demonstrate the ability to successfully perform their duties and to accomplish their mission with discipline and to standard. Competence in their area of military expertise is essential in order to effectively perform their mission. Responsible stewards of the Army profession oversee professional education and training activities essential to organizational learning, ensuring their effectiveness and rigor in order to maintain a tradition of excellence and expertise. By maintaining those rigorous standards, responsible stewards demonstrate the character required for Army professionals to learn, teach, and grow within their organizations. Similarly, they support a certification system that recognizes expertise in individuals and units. An Army professional's dedication and adherence to Army values and the profession's ethic is consistently and faithfully demonstrated in their character through their decisions and actions. Commitment is placing the needs of your subordinates before your own and striving for excellence in every aspect of your area of military expertise. It is the resolve of Army professionals to contribute honorable service to the nation, to perform their duties with discipline and to standard, and to strive to successfully and ethically accomplish the mission despite adversity, obstacles, and challenge.
Camp Uka was built on an area that was never cleared. It was never cleared at all. And there was just, it's Iraq. There's things in the sand everywhere from decades of war. On a routine basis, when the MPs would sweep through, they would pull out shanks, knives, swords. When we got there, it was still, the hospital was like a big circus tent. That was all we had, was some old wood floors. And the prison was just chain link fences with, wooden guard towers. I mean, it was just something out of like a World War II movie or something. After finding out that that was going to be our mission, dealing with my own feelings of treating detainees, and then I was a sergeant, so I had all the medics underneath me, and making sure that they were doing the right thing and treating the detainees, who at least some of were confirmed probably killers of Americans. My role, I had a whole compound to myself, me and two medics. Whole compound of about 500 detainees, because it was broken up into compounds. So 500 detainees belonged to me and two other medics. It's just stressful enough doing it in that conditions, if it was Americans, but it was detainees. I mean, we were just not just doing there for ER stuff in case. We were there actually aggressively doing healthcare for them. They would come up and they would argue with you. You would have people be uncooperative. you're trying to give them insulin to manage their diabetes, and they would refuse to take it for whatever reason. When we had riots and there were MPs coming in as well as detainees, once again, as a medic, you have that, you're the triage. We had one detainee, they had viciously attacked him. They had, basically fractured his skull. They had stabbed him in the throat with a tent pole, whatever they could find. They had really, got him pretty good. Even though it was a detainee, obviously, as a medic, you're sitting there, you've got your skills, your PAs and all that ready to go, the hospital over there. He was, in the wire on the ground because they had brought him up, his buddies had brought him up and, in the midst of the chaos to try to get him out. That detainee needs help now, and he will live more than likely if you give it to him now. You got to treat that detainee. But even as me being a team leader, our SOP was not to go in there as a medic, period. You don't go anywhere until it's safe without risk to your medics. You're going to question yourself anyways, even with a detainee. It's still, as a medic, it's your challenge. You're fighting death. And it's a gut instinct of a human, let alone a medic. It's like reinforced to run out there and start saving lives. But there's just no way with the numbers you're dealing with that you can go in there. With 500 detainees and even a small compound, you just can't go in there. All you got is, like I said, the chain link fences. So you have to wait until everything's calmed down, until they can isolate all the detainees away, and then they have to send a team in there. Safety was first. Safety and security was first. Medical care was next. It just wasn't safe. There was just too much violence going on inside for us to get him out. The detainee died inside the wire while we watched, and when you lose to death, it's not something as easy to accept, for any kind of human life. As a medic, even with American casualties, you're trained you have to evaluate the situation. Because if you go out there and get killed, and especially if you're the only medic, your unit is in real bad situation. I think in the situation at Camp Bucca, I think almost all the values there, all of them at one point or another came in conflict, especially right off the bat, when you're pumped up to go over there to help Americans to fight, for America and to just do your job as a medic. When we had riots and there were MPs coming in as well as detainees, once again, as a medic, you have that, you're the triage, you're triaging. Who do we treat first? You treat whoever needs it most and who will benefit from it. Not to the extent where, you're treating someone who's going to die regardless. But you're going to treat the person who needs it the most immediately. So, and if that's a detainee versus an American, then it has to be a detainee that gets treated. We easily increased the health of every single detainee there. Easily. They were in better health than they'd probably been in their whole lives. You go to war and, all your jobs are important, but underneath that, as an American soldier, it's just important to have those values instilled in you.
What qualities would you look for to certify an Army professional's competence, character, and commitment? Where are some objective criteria for these qualities that should be noted on performance evaluations? What can we do to develop these qualities in ourselves and others? How can coaching, counseling, and mentoring help develop these qualities? How is our organization doing at coaching, counseling, and mentoring? How are we developing and documenting expert knowledge in our activities? How are we stewarding the profession by ensuring certification of our Army professionals? How do we develop our Army professionals in competence, character, and commitment? To conclude, Army professionals continually develop competence, character, and commitment to the profession in themselves as well as in their subordinates. They develop expert knowledge and expert practices throughout the 4 domains. They steward the profession by cultivating military expertise throughout the Army profession. Army professionals work to continuously improve both themselves and their profession. Providing feedback that promotes our learning environment is part of being a steward of the profession. For more information and to support professional development, visit http://cape.army.mil.